Everyone's trying to break you. Not with fists, not with weapons, but with emotions. Guilt, shame, fear. They use your own heart as the knife. You were taught that feeling deeply makes you human, that expressing emotion makes you real, that being vulnerable is a strength. Lies. The truth: the more emotionally reactive you are, the easier you are to control. Every reaction gives someone leverage. Every outburst gives away your mind. Every confession hands them your playbook. This world doesn't reward the emotional. It devours them. It rewards the man who controls what others can't read. So here's what you'll learn in this video: how to weaponize emotional control, how to become untouchable, unreadable, and unshakable, how to turn your silence into tension, your detachment into power, your presence into psychological fear. And when you master this, you won't just survive emotional warfare, you'll dominate it. Subscribe now if you're ready to stop bleeding emotion and start leading with power. You see, you've been told and sold lots of emotional lies all your life. They told you feeling deeply was noble, that wearing your heart on your sleeve made you brave, that vulnerability was strength. But who does that really serve? Not you, not the man trying to build power, not the man trying to stay focused in a world designed to destabilize him. It serves them, the manipulators, the institutions, the weak who feed on your emotional leakage because they can't generate their own strength. Understand this: every time you open up, someone else gains access. And access is control. This idea that you should express everything, that hiding your pain is toxic, it's not a path to healing, it's a trap. It's emotional disarmament sold as virtue. Because the more exposed you are, the more readable you are, the more influence others have over you. This is the emotional lie of modern culture. Give your truth away, and you'll be free. But the real truth? The moment they can predict you, they own you. If you want power, you must learn to guard your emotions like state secrets. You don't owe the world your emotional life. You owe yourself protection. Machiavelli wants you to understand the true nature of power. Emotions are currency, and most men are bankrupt. They leak their feelings like open faucets, giving away their weaknesses with every sigh, every flare of anger, every tear. Emotional transparency is the loudest broadcast of vulnerability. It says, "I'm predictable, I'm weak, I'm easy to manipulate." True power hides behind a mask of unreadability. It's the silent force that moves unseen, unshaken. It doesn't scream or plead, it commands with quiet confidence. The man who controls his emotions controls the game, not by becoming numb, but by becoming invisible, unreadable, untouchable, and impossible to predict. This is where the weak get exposed and the strong thrive. Power doesn't live in what you feel, it lives in what you choose to show. The less you reveal, the more control you wield. The less they understand, the more they fear. Most men live like prey. They react, they stumble, they let emotions dictate their every move. Anger flares, fear freezes, pride lashes out. They're hunted by their feelings, trapped in a cage of reaction. But the truly dangerous man? He's the predator. He watches the battlefield calmly, reads his enemy's moves, and waits. Not because he's passive, but because he's in control. Emotional restraint is not numbness, it's strategy. You don't erase your feelings, you master your response to them. You don't become cold, you become precise. When betrayal comes, you don't rage, you calculate. When disrespect hits, you don't beg, you disappear. When chaos erupts, you don't explode, you recalibrate. Because power isn't in the loudest voice or the quickest reaction, it's in stillness under fire. This transformation isn't natural, it's deliberate. It requires training your mind to pause, analyze, and act with ruthless intent. You shift from being moved by others to moving others, from being predictable to being an enigma, from being controlled to controlling. And this shift is the most dangerous evolution you can undergo. If you want to start walking this path, subscribe now, because mastering emotional control isn't easy. It takes clarity, discipline, and relentless preparation. And here, you'll learn exactly how to build it. Remember, the predator doesn't chase, he waits. and when he strikes, he owns the field. To conquer this, Machiavelli outlines 5 pillars of emotional discipline. Becoming emotionally dangerous is not luck, it's deliberate training. It's a ruthless process of reshaping how you respond to the world. This isn't about suppressing your feelings or becoming numb. It's about transforming your emotional reactions into weapons, sharp, precise, and strategic. Here are the 5 pillars you must build to construct this inner fortress of power. Pause before you react. The first sign of power is stillness. When you're provoked, the instinct is to lash out, to defend, explain, or retaliate. But the truly dangerous man does the opposite. He pauses, not for peace, not for comfort, but to observe. This moment of silence disarms your opponent and shifts control to you. While they wait, your calm becomes a question mark, an unknown variable they can't predict or manipulate. Their impatience reveals their intention, their weakness. This pause isn't hesitation, it's a calculated delay. It gives you time to assess the situation with clarity, stripping away emotional noise. You don't react emotionally, you react strategically. The longer you hold this pause, the more power shifts to you. In this silence, your opponent becomes vulnerable, exposed by their own need for a reaction. You don't need to speak to dominate. Your silence does it for you. 2. Replace emotion with strategy. Most men live by their feelings. They act on anger, pride, or hurt. But the dangerous man sees emotions for what they are, tools to be wielded, not commands to obey. Instead of asking, "How do I feel?" ask, "What gives me the most control here?" Detach from ego, from the need to be right or justified. Right means nothing if it costs you the game. This is not coldness, it's calculation. Revenge isn't a loud outburst or a public spectacle. It's walking away while your adversary destroys themselves. Replace emotional release with tactical response. Control your narrative. Move with intention, not reaction. This mindset rewires your brain. You stop being a slave to impulse and become the master of your environment. Emotion doesn't fuel you, it serves you. Bookmark. Train. 3. Train your triggers. To master emotions, you must know your weaknesses. What breaks your composure? Is it disrespect, rejection, being ignored? Identify these triggers and turn them into your training ground. Expose yourself repeatedly to these provocations, not to suffer, but to dominate the reaction. Let insults hit you without a flicker. Let lies roll off your back like water. Silence the urge to explain or defend. Each refusal to react weakens the trigger's grip on you. Soon, you will find nothing moves you unless you allow it. This brutal training builds resilience. You transform emotional vulnerability into an unbreakable fortress. Bookmark. 4. Control your face. Your face is a battlefield. The eyes, the jaw, the slightest twitch all betray your inner state. The enemy watches for these signals before they strike. Train yourself to maintain neutrality. No sudden shifts, no emotional flickers. Practice stillness. Practice neutrality. Smile only when it serves your purpose. Frown only when it sends a strategic message. Master the art of the unreadable face. When provoked, meet hostility with calm detachment. Let confusion grow in their eyes while your mask remains flawless. Your expression becomes a weapon that breeds fear and uncertainty. This control turns your presence into a fortress no one can breach. 5. Say less than necessary. Words are currency, and most men are bankrupt. They waste their power by explaining, justifying, and confessing. The emotionally dangerous man speaks sparingly. He speaks only to command, correct, or confuse. Silence fills the gaps between his words, creating tension. Unpredictability becomes his shield. This economy of speech forces others to guess your intentions. When people don't know what you're thinking, they assume the worst, and that assumption works in your favor. Learn to wield your voice like a weapon. Precision over volume. Control over chaos. Master these 5 pillars and you forge an inner fortress, a mind no one can breach, no matter the assault. Because emotional power isn't about fleeing pain. It's about controlling your response, turning chaos into calm, weakness into strength. This discipline separates the rulers from the ruled. Bookmark. Chem. Maintaining the fortress. Building emotional power is only the beginning. The real challenge is maintaining it. Day after day, moment after moment. Most men lose their edge because they relax. They believe once they've mastered their emotions, the battle is over. But emotional discipline isn't a trophy to place on a shelf. It's a lifelong practice, a constant vigilance. Without maintenance, the fortress crumbles. You'll face new triggers, unexpected betrayals, and relentless pressure to slip back into old habits. The world is ruthless. It never stops testing your boundaries. And if you let your guard down even once, you'll bleed emotional currency again. This softening comes in many forms. Reacting to disrespect, explaining yourself when questioned, letting anger or sadness leak through your voice. Each crack in your armor invites attack. Maintaining your emotional fortress means sharpening your weapon every day. Train your face to stay still. Practice silence even when provoked. Recalibrate your mind before reacting. You don't rehearse anger, you rehearse restraint. Because power doesn't live in noise, but in silence. You'll be tested, your patience pushed, your values challenged. People will insult you just to see if you flinch. Lie to see if you beg for truth. Ignore you to break your silence. And every time you respond like the average man, you give them exactly what they want. Leverage, certainty, control. But when you respond with nothing, when you take your power back, you break their game. This discipline begins in the mind. Watch your emotions like a strategist watches the battlefield. When anger rises, don't react. Analyze. When disrespect hits, don't defend. Remember, when sadness or confusion swirl, step back. Observe. Not all feelings deserve your action. Most are distractions designed to break you down. The strong man lets emotions pass like weather, unchanged in sunshine or storm. And to maintain this strength, you must embrace detachment, not as coldness or escape, but as armor. Detach your peace from loyalty, from validation, from expectation. Stop assuming others will be loyal, honest, or kind. Stop needing to be understood. Prepare yourself for betrayal, disrespect, and disappointment. Accept this harsh reality and you'll no longer be shaken. Your mind becomes a fortress that no assault can breach. Your emotional power becomes your identity. Mastery through detachment. Detachment is the final armor for the emotionally dangerous man. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world or becoming a cold, heartless shell. It's about stopping the world from cutting into you. When you detach, you stop tying your peace to things beyond your control. Loyalty, understanding, approval. You stop expecting kindness from a world that's indifferent. You stop waiting for validation you'll never receive. This isn't pessimism, it's ruthless clarity. The moment you accept that people act in their own self-interest and that loyalty is rare and fleeting, you stop being surprised by betrayal. You stop being shaken by disrespect. You build an internal distance, a quiet space where your thoughts and feelings remain yours alone. You keep your emotions sealed behind walls no one can breach. Detachment turns your emotional energy into an impenetrable fortress. It protects your mind from chaos, your heart from manipulation. You become less reactive, more selective. You care, but you do not give. This is not escapism. This is power. Protect your environment as fiercely as you guard your emotions. Don't surround yourself with chaos feeders, those who thrive on drama, confusion, or emotional manipulation. Choose silence over noise, solitude over fake support, because when your environment is stable, your fortress holds stronger. Detachment also means guarding your time and energy. Every conversation, every interaction, every relationship becomes a calculated choice. You invest only where it serves you, where it strengthens your position. This discipline of detachment makes you invulnerable, not because you feel nothing, but because nothing controls you. When you master detachment, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You become the architect of your emotional world, unreachable, untouchable, unshakable. You don't need to attack. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The ultimate power lies in your stillness, in the quiet confidence that says more than words ever could. When you master emotional control, you embody presence, and presence commands respect, commands fear. People hesitate before they speak to you. They test you once, maybe twice, and then they stop, because they realize their tricks don't work. You don't flinch, you don't chase, you don't beg. You simply remain still, calm, unreadable, unbreakable. That stillness is your greatest weapon. It's the silent force that unsettles, confuses, and dominates. You become the man others measure themselves against, not because you try to intimidate, but because you've removed the one thing that makes most men weak: uncontrolled emotion. This is the final evolution, from chaos to calm, from reaction to control, from prey to predator. Remember, emotional power is not a destination. It's a discipline, one you must sharpen every day. Stay dangerous, stay unreadable, stay in control, because when they can't move you, you move the world.